Welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Hey, we are looking at the broilers. Just wanted to let viewers have a look at this pen of broilers. We're talking about September 5th, 2023 and 6 o'clock in the evening, rural Southeast Ohio, USA. It's still about 90 degrees. So it's been a hot day for these birds. And actually we've had all of the buildings carriage doors open for the duration of the afternoon to have as much open airflow potential as possible. But we've also had, as you can see here, there's a lot of strong light coming in there. So that's actually the west side of this building, and basically that entire 30-foot span can be opened up. So it's been open. What's left open right now is just maybe a little less than 10 feet, and I'm going to end up closing that actually, but you can see that's real strong light streaming in there. So that has, let enough sunlight in to really keep these birds wanting to be active during the day. And even though they've been hot, they've been up and going to feeders, going to waters, and then resting, going through that natural cycle. But also wanted to show you, I don't know if you can tell from just seeing this bit of clip of their pen, we're staying away from that strong light, but right about here where these birds are laying, if we go straight across to the far wall where that yellow livestock crate for poultry is, there was a temporary wall right there. And so you can kind of tell a difference in the bedding. Over here to the left of the frame is darker, and the bedding to the right of the frame is lighter looking in color actually. So that's brand new pine shavings that has been put down. And so the bedding that had been there, those birds had been on for a total of 14 days, and it's getting very compacted. But it's interesting, I'm going to actually step into their growing pen here. It's interesting that as we've increased the size and more of those birds could move off of where they were and over onto a new floor surface, they've worked into some of this bedding and like dust bathed in it. So let me take you back here. Some of this bedding actually looks fairly fresh. So what they've done is they've dust bathed into it, and they've kind of broken up some of that compaction and aerated it to some extent and brought up some of the bedding that's like trapped down in lower layers. So we're mindful of that because that also has potential to bring pathogens that got trapped in that bedding. It has potential to bring them up to the surface and make them airborne. So that's why we don't come in like with a pitchfork or a shovel and actually disturb the bedding and turn it, and we just let the birds compact it down, and we add bedding over bedding, which is what we call deep litter bedding method. So, but it's interesting that when we gave the birds more space and they were able to spread out, they were also able to do some natural aeration of that bedding in their pen themselves. So birds are pretty social critters. Like I'm just kneeling down here in their pen, observing them and watching them, and they'll approach and they'll come up to you. But there's a good shot of basically how they use the feeders when they decide to get up and go eat. They basically gather around the feeders. So what we did when we basically doubled the pen size because they were outgrowing what we had used as a brooder space, and they'd had a smaller space the first 10 days, and then day 10 to 14 we had kind of doubled what they had, and now on day 14 going forward we've doubled what they have again, and we have room to expand and give them more as they grow as well if we want to. But what we ended up doing, we had to kind of reconfigure where we put the waters and feeders. So we actually took the 3 large waters and put them right down basically the middle, and then we've got feeders flanking each side of that, and then we even brought in the 1-gallon baby bird water dispensers and put 5 of them in around the edges. We'll have to fill those frequently, but the point being, they were experiencing heat stress, and we don't want them to have to go hunt for water. We want to keep them on the water. We want to keep them drinking, because these birds grow constantly, grow rapidly, so they need to eat well, they need to stay hydrated, and they need to get rest, because those 3 factors, just like for any living creature, that's what supports growth. They've got to be nourished, hydrated, and rested. And that's basically what we try to do for our birds, in addition to protecting them from predators. With Cornish rock cross meat chickens, if we take care of nourishment, hydration, rest, minimizing stress, then they're going to grow. So another thing, you know, we've mentioned having the doors open lets all this natural sunlight in. The other thing going on in our building, and I'm not going to show this on the camera because it's a really bright light, but we have a bright overhead LED light in the center of our building, and we keep that on around the clock, whether the doors are open or closed. And so when we close the doors up, we still have that bright light, and we keep it on all night. And even with that on, we have observed that our birds still rest. They still go into a resting pattern, because they, you know, it's like any space. There's microclimates and micro areas, and so even with the overhead light, some areas are better lit than other areas. But you can see how, especially this new bedding and being able to spread out, was a really helpful tool in helping them not be quite so warm. And the only thing I'm looking for, we're going to wrap this little, I don't know if it's a day 14 bonus or a day 15 prequel, but we're going to wrap it up. But the only thing I was looking for, I was trying to see if we could find a bird that has eaten and its crop has kind of filled in the front, because I mentioned in day 14, that's something that we look for. We observe in the birds, are their crops filling regularly? And that's where the food goes in, you know, when they eat it, and that's part of the digestive process. But we really don't see one. Look, there's one laying on its side. It just sat upright, but that's a cooling mechanism. They do that. So at any rate, I don't see one right now that I can show you where the crop is full, but it's good to see that they're eating and they are going to water. So even though there is some heat stress, they are still trying to eat and trying to drink, and they've been able to rest. So they're hanging in there. But 6 p.m. still 90 degrees. So these birds have had some hot weather, and they really, at this age, they really want to be like maybe around 86, and it's over 90. Real feel today was definitely about 97 degrees or 98 degrees. So maybe by the end of the week, it'll cool down a little bit. Check out this one. I mean, that's being totally invested in getting your rest, huh? So, hey, thanks for joining us at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. We appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please share us with your friends and family, and please source your food as locally as you possibly can. Connect to farmers in your area, because we love local ag, and we hope that you will show love for local ag wherever local is for you. God bless y'all. May all your chicken dinners be winners, and we hope you'll join us again at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thanks so much.